Hello, everyone. This is a podcast I made to help you all learn fractions, and I hope this makes it easier for you. Here is an overview of the material I will be covering. So I'm going to start out with what a fraction actually is. Then I will move on to how you say and read fractions and what they are composed of. Then I will identify some reasons for learning fractions and why it is important. And I will end with equivalent fractions. What is a fraction? A fraction is a part or unit of a whole number. Here are some examples of fractions. You read these as 1/2, 1/4. With any fraction, you have a numerator and a denominator. Top, and the denominator is the number on the bottom. Here we have 1/2, so the numerator is 1 and the denominator is 2. We do not say the word 2 because the fraction does not include 2 units. There is only one unit that has been divided into 2 parts. Therefore, we say this is half of the whole unit. So why do we need to learn fractions? Why should we care? We use them every day when dealing with food, money, and even schoolwork. So it is good to have an understanding of fractions because you will use them again and especially later on in math and other subjects. So how many slices of pizza are there? There are 8 slices altogether if you look closely. What if I take one away? The pizza that was once whole and had 8 slices altogether now only has 7 slices. It is no longer whole. I have just created a fraction. So what fractions are here? What fraction of the pizza do I have? I took 1 slice of pizza out of 8 slices, so I have 1/8 of the pizza. There are 7 slices left out of 8 slices. The fraction of the remaining pizza is 7/8. What about equivalent fractions? These are fractions that equal the same amount but are expressed in different ways. Here are some examples of equivalent fractions. The circle on the left is divided into halves. But also notice the dotted line going between the two halves. This divides the circle even further into fourths. 2 halves equal a whole, and 4 fourths equal a whole as well. In other words, 2 fourths is the same as 1/2. These are equivalent fractions. The rectangle shown here is divided into halves. Notice one of the halves is red and the other half is blue. Each color represents 1/2 of the rectangle. Here the rectangle is still divided in half by its colors, but it is also divided in half again, making fourths. These 2 red rectangles are the same as the first red rectangle in the previous slide. The same is true for the blue rectangles. 2 fourths is the same as 1/2. Here the picture changes a little. The whole rectangle is still divided in halves by color, but the colors are each divided into fourths. Altogether, the whole rectangle is divided into eighths. There are 4 red rectangles and 4 blue rectangles that altogether make 8 rectangles. As you can see, the 4 red rectangles equal 1/2 of the whole big rectangle. The same is true for the blue rectangles. Here the fraction 4/8 is the same as 2 fourths and 1/2. This brings me to my last example. Here we have 16 rectangles altogether. There are 8 red rectangles and 8 blue rectangles that equal 16 rectangles altogether. There is an equal amount of red rectangles as there is blue rectangles. Eight out of 16 rectangles equals half of the rectangles altogether. This means that 8/16 is equal to 1/2. The equivalent fractions in these examples were 1/2, 2/4, 4/8, and 8/16. All of these fractions are the same amount. In conclusion, you now have a basic understanding of fractions. You know what they are, how to say them, how to write them with the numerator over the denominator, and you know a few equivalent fractions. I hope this podcast was helpful to you, and thank you for listening.